Hello. Now today, Ian and I are going to be discussing how he can make his classroom resonate. Rather than flat talk that just goes between people, we're trying in drama always to make a situation in which there is feedback to the children for all the things, the input they put in. However, you see, we're doing it under this main thing, which is sign, which is harnessed to the teacher's need. Now, you only have sign when there's somebody to read it. And so when the children are working, they are reading the sign all the time. And so Ian is deliberately going to be thinking about how to harness everything significantly in his classroom. And of course, the work that we shall be engaged on all the time, if we're using sign, the creation of significance, we are using a laboratory mode of learning, where the teacher and the class are constantly explaining things to each other. And of course, we are using both sides of the brain, where the caring side, the affective zone, is constantly leading us towards teaching opportunities for the curriculum. So the affected moves into the cognitive. And because we have classes of children, we are dealing with social situations, events which will call the energies of the children as social beings learning together as well as individually. So that's what we're doing today. You see, what we're doing here is we're producing sign. We're not using talk as our means of message. We're borrowing from the theatre a total sense of an event, which is what, to me, teaching has to be. And therefore, when children look at these, they are appreciating there's a history to this document. Somebody's already opened it. It must be important if they clipped them together. The form of the paper, the form of the envelope, in my case, I've just used what I had, and I frequently have to do that. But you begin to be very delicate about what helps children understand a lot more and bring themselves to the event instead of waiting to be told what to do. So one is actually giving a gift of sign in this. Now, of course, only you know in your heart if you want to be bothered with teaching at that level. If you don't want to be bothered at teaching at that level, you're on the wrong course. You've got to examine your own heart on the matter. This makes teaching easier and, of course, much more exciting. Because, for example, I shan't rest till I find out if lightning hardens trees. I mean, it's not a question that has ever risen in my mind, even though I've passed the blasted oak from being a child in my own village. And to me, this is what stops you saying this year what you said last year, because you no longer can. Because you're engaged at the level of the children, and it's quite deep play. But of course, all the time one is saying, what does this offer in terms of learning for the children? And what am I deliberately not going to tell them anything about? Now I'm going to just have a look at just one piece of work that one of your classes did when they were 8. When they looked at these archives, if we take it round here, the first thing one might do is give them browsing time. So the way I talk, it has to be browsing time talk. I found all these pieces of writing, and I really can't quite understand just what they're all about. But I'll tell you what, I've noticed there's figures up on the top of every one, and when I looked, all the figures seem to be the same. I wonder whether you wouldn't mind helping me just go through these and see whether we can get any sense of what they're about. Now, that would be an example of this. I have supplied the stimulus. I'm providing the exploration by the way I'm talking. And I'm offering, if they'll pick it up, colleagueness. Not right. What we're going to do now is look through these pieces of writing and we're going to find out what they're about. Now, it might be more direct, but it's too early to be there. So, I just wondered if, you might just have a look. Can you make sure everybody gets them? I think there's enough. Now, let's look at what I've done into the enabling exploration. First of all, there's something that looks older and some care has been taken in. Sign. There's a figure on it which when they gradually get used to it, when they're round here, they'll see they're all the same. They belong to the same set. To enable a little bit of penetration, I've put some notes on this one, but they are nothing to do with interpreting that. All I've said is it seems to be it's in some sort of order. It's not just a letter. So I'm just a little bit helping them to see these words are not just a letter. To whom it may concern isn't just an ordinary letter. So I'm gradually moving them towards here because they're going to be archivists. And they're going to do all the things archivists do very accurately. But over here, it's just enjoying the oldness and the specialness and realizing this writing is different than that. If I move over to here, you see, then it might be, I get the feeling some of them are in the same handwriting and some of them are different. I wonder if we could group them together, because they are made that way. If you look very carefully, children will soon see that this handwriting, so you're in a classification situation. Now, when we come to this stage, then we're probably explaining these archives to somebody. So this stage is delayed. The stage with the Tudors and Stuarts didn't need to be delayed. You had correct information, you could check straight away, you could add your dates, you could accurately do it, and you could mount it well. But this needs a lot more browsing, a lot more discovering, because when they come to here, they've got to have a lot of skill. So the pressure mustn't come too early here. Now, the pressure in this one might come with a lady coming to see the archivists, which allows the teacher to prepare them for a special event. So your focusing time comes in. So you see, I am the teacher, but I'm also the lady who's going to come. I understand that you have been dealing with the old documents about Miss Mary Morgan. Have you reached any idea about what happened to her? That's a focusing question. And I'm going to give them all the help in the world to be clear in explaining it to me. So as a teacher, I've got to have done the work up there with them so that they can. Does that make a bit of sense? Because there's no point in them rewriting the archives. Copying the archives down is a hopeless task. It's like copying out of books. It gets you no place. But assembling what you now think you know about it, and a courteous visitor who's pressing in a gentle way, helps you realize what you know. Now, if it comes over to here, it may be in the form of, I really am very, very grateful to you for having sorted them, because when we found them we weren't sure at all. Something quite terrible seems to have happened. And I wonder whether it would be possible for you to write me a short report. Because when I go back to the church warden's meeting about whether, you know, these graves or whatever this appertains to, it might affect the church. And if I could take a report, I really would appreciate it. So as a teacher now, I'm helping them write the report. But it's not at this level of, it had better be perfect, but the accuracy that we now know here, we've consolidated it. So what do we think is the most important thing to say about them, that we can say that's definitely right? And maybe you could just put the report together in some way, and I'll take it along to her.